Everyone talks about the F-22 Raptor's stealth, its supercruise, its unmatched ability to disappear into the sky and strike before an enemy even knows it's being hunted. But what if I told you the real secret weapon behind the F-22 isn't hidden inside its radar-absorbing skin, or tucked behind its diamond-shaped edges, or bolted into its twin Pratt & Whitney F-119 engines? What if the true X factor isn't metal, or fuel, or software at all, but something alive, breathing, thinking, adapting, something far more human? And it's the one thing no rival nation has been able to copy, counterfeit, or reverse engineer. Stick around, because once you understand this truth, the entire debate about air superiority, who owns the sky, who dominates the first minutes of a war, it all looks completely different. Forget everything you think you know about the Raptor. The stealth is revolutionary, the thrust vectoring is insane, the supercruise is unmatched, but none of that is what makes the F-22 a fear-inducing predator. The jet is lethal, but it's the human being inside it, trained in a culture that breaks down the weak, polishes the strong, and produces a kind of flying instinct that doesn't show up on any spec sheet, that actually makes the Raptor untouchable. This isn't just a jet. It's a partnership between unmatched engineering and a pilot corps shaped by high-pressure repetition, extreme discipline, and an almost obsessive pursuit of perfection. The machine is iconic, but the pilot? The pilot is the edge that no nation on Earth has figured out how to recreate. You've seen the dogfight clips, you've heard the kill ratios, you've watched the simulations where Raptors disappear into the clouds, reappear behind the enemy, and end the fight before the threat even locks a radar tone. But how often do you stop and think about who is behind the controls? Who is reading the energy of the jet, managing the angles, pushing the envelope of physics, and making a 25-ton machine move like weightless intent? The pilots flying the Raptor aren't just operators, they're artists, architects of aerial geometry, sculptors of the battle space. And today we're pulling the curtain back on the human factor that turns the Raptor from a masterpiece of engineering into a sky-dominating phenomenon. Let's start at the beginning. Selection. To even apply for the F-22 pipeline, you must already be in the top tier of the top tier. Most Raptor pilots come from the F-15C community, arguably the most competitive fighter pilot culture ever created. This is a tribe where good isn't good enough, where above average gets ignored, where excellence is the base requirement. Pilots are not just selected, they are identified as people who learn faster, adapt quicker, and absorb pressure like oxygen. These are individuals who, even early in their careers, show signs of something different. Spatial awareness that borders on terrifying, reaction times that seem impossible, and an ability to mentally multitask in environments that would freeze most people solid. Once selected, the training pipeline intensifies. You don't just learn the jet, you learn a new way of thinking. This is where the human part of the F-22's secret power begins. In the F-22 community, pilots are trained to expect chaos, manage uncertainty, and make decisions at speeds ordinary humans aren't built for. They study patterns of motion, energy management, geometry of dogfighting, and the invisible language of air combat. They train until instincts override hesitation. Many nations can buy high-end aircraft. Very few can produce pilots who treat aerial combat like a moving three-dimensional chess match, where each decision is a checkmate if timed correctly. And that brings us to one of the most misunderstood truths about the Raptor. Its overwhelming kill ratio isn't just because it's stealthy, it's because the pilot knows how to weaponize that stealth. Stealth is an advantage, but stealth in the hands of a pilot who knows exactly how to stack angles, control transitions, manipulate closure rates, and predict enemy reactions, that's not an advantage. That's a nightmare for the opposition. That's what makes Russia and China still treat the Raptor like a ghost they fear encountering. Because they're not just worried about the jet, they're worried about the mind flying it. By the time a pilot reaches full operational status, they spent years refining the smallest behaviors, the micro-timings, the subtle throttle movements, the delicate dance between control surfaces and thrust vectoring. And here's the insane part. Every single Raptor pilot will tell you the same thing. The jet is more capable than they are. Every time they learn something new, the aircraft still has room left over. That constant gap forces pilots to evolve, to sharpen, to push harder. It creates a relationship between human and machine that no adversary can buy with money or decree into existence with politics. 3 minutes in, real quick, if you love these deep dive breakdowns that cut past the hype and show you the real truth behind military power, hit subscribe and smash that like button. It helps the channel break through the algorithm and reach more people who actually want real defense analysis, not shallow headlines or copy-paste content. All right, let's keep going. Now we step into the part most people never hear about, the culture. The F-22 community is built around merciless debriefs. Fighters debrief everything, even the good parts, but F-22 debriefs are something else. Every maneuver, every radar mode, every burst of energy in a dogfight, every millisecond of delay in a turn, it's all dissected. It's not friendly, it's not gentle, it's not designed to protect feelings, it's designed to eliminate weakness. When an F-22 pilot enters the briefing room, they're entering a mental crucible. No excuses, no ego, only performance. Mistakes aren't punished, they're studied. Weaknesses aren't hidden, they're exposed. And the result? A pilot who is brutally honest about their own flaws and genetically opposed to complacency. This matters more than people realize, because air combat, real air combat, doesn't reward the one who has the better jet, it rewards the one who has fewer errors. The F-22 community makes fewer errors because they train harder, review deeper, and correct faster. This is why during Red Flag and other major exercises, the F-22 doesn't just win, it suffocates the opposition. Enemy aircraft don't get within visual range. They don't get firing solutions. They don't even get the opening they need to attempt a countermove. The Raptor pilots have already predicted the entire engagement, position by position, before the opponent has even completed their turn. Here's where the secret becomes undeniable. In exercises where Raptor pilots fly aggressor roles, pretending to be the enemy, they still dominate. Think about that. They downgrade their radar, they limit their thrust, they simulate inferior weapons, and still, they find ways to win. Why? Because skill is portable. You can downgrade hardware, you can't downgrade instinct. And this instinct is reinforced by something almost no other nation reproduces at the same scale: endless flight hours. US doesn't just train to proficiency, it trains to reflex.
Pilots know what an angle feels like, not just what it looks like on a screen. They know the pressure on their ribs, the sound of airflow over the canopy, the feel of a micro slip on the control stick. When split-second decisions determine survival, this kind of muscle-level intelligence becomes the difference between kill and be killed. Even more chilling for America's adversaries is what happens when the Raptor enters beyond visual range combat. This is where the jet's God's eye view sensor fusion becomes a force multiplier. But again, only if the pilot knows how to manipulate it. Raptor pilots don't just read data, they interpret it. They turn it into predictions. They weaponize information. They see where an enemy will be before the enemy even knows it has been detected. Russia and China have invested billions trying to counter American stealth, but they still haven't solved the human problem. How do you counter a pilot who can read the sky like a chessboard and kill you before you know the game has started? Even when discussing thrust vectoring, the famous Raptor super maneuverability, most people don't understand what makes it lethal. It's not the ability to flip the jet or perform a Cobra maneuver. It's knowing when not to do it, when to preserve energy, when to break the opponent's expectations, when to transform a defensive posture into an offensive kill shot. In the hands of an average pilot, thrust vectoring is fun. In the hands of a Raptor pilot, thrust vectoring is a scalpel. And then there's the psychology. Raptor pilots train under a mindset that most air forces would consider extreme. They are taught that air combat is not just physical, it's mental warfare. Dominance begins before the merge, before the radar lock, before the mission even starts. A confident, trained, mentally conditioned pilot creates pressure by existing in the battle space. Opponents become reactive. Reactive pilots make mistakes. Mistakes create openings, and openings create kills. This mental edge is reinforced by something else: experience. For 2 decades, the F-22 community has shaped America's understanding of what 6th-generation tactics might look like. They fly in environments with dense electronic warfare, GPS-denied zones, simulated peer threats, and advanced SAM networks. They've become masters of disappearing, masters of sequencing engagements, masters of controlling chaos. Meanwhile, rival nations study the Raptor from afar, trying desperately to understand how to counter it, but without the pilot culture or training environment to match, every effort becomes an imitation with missing pieces. China can build jets. Russia can build jets. Iran can pretend it has jets, but none of them have found a way to replicate a community of pilots forged by decades of investment, brutal evaluation, sky-high requirements, and a culture where excellence is enforced, not encouraged. This is where the truth becomes impossible to ignore. The F-22 Raptor is not just a machine, it is a manifestation of a philosophy that the human being matters as much as the hardware, that a jet is only as dangerous as the mind flying it, that superiority is earned, not purchased, and that dominance in the air begins long before takeoff, in the training rooms, simulators, briefing halls, and silent moments of self-correction where pilots learn to never, ever settle for good enough. The F-22 remains undefeated, not because it's invisible, but because its pilots are unmistakable. They fly with discipline. They train with aggression. They analyze with humility. They execute with precision. And that combination, technology plus unmatched human capability, creates an edge no rival can copy, challenge, or cancel out. The F-22's secret weapon was never a system, a sensor, or an engine. The F-22's secret weapon is the pilot, and that's something no enemy can shoot down.